Alright, let's get into it. What we're going to do today is we're going to do an 808, but we're going to do a dual 808 for my live musicians. So we're going to do it on the outboard gear, not on software. Outboard gear, what we're going to build it. Definitely going to focus on getting the tone right with some pedals. And, Drill's got all about that 808 glide. So that portamento is going to be key in this to getting this sound right as well. So let's go and do it. Alright, so let's make an 808 sound. And whenever I'm starting any sort of sound, I always start with the shape of the sound. It's easier for me to think of it that way. So we're making an 808. So I know that instantly I'm not going to need a slow attack. I'm going to need something very, very quick. For this 808, I'm going to keep my sustain up. But sometimes I'll take my sustain down just for a natural. Just for a natural roll off. So no matter how long I hold it, it tails off sort of naturally. But for this one, I'm going to keep my sustain up, but I am going to make full use of my release. So now we've got the envelope, the volume envelope kind of sorted, and we just flip over to my oscillator. So I know my first oscillator is going to be a triangle wave. Now I'm using the triangle wave because there's a bit more harmonics with a triangle wave than there is to a sine wave, which can be quite pure and even less harmonics. So let me engage the mono mode. This is going to be a bass. I just reach over to my filter. Now for this sound, for this 808, I'm going to be using the peaking filter. So let me just give you a quick explanation what the peaking filter is. So what I'm going to do here, I just want to show you what I mean by the peaking filter. So I've got here a sine wave. And it's a pure sine wave. I've got no harmonic content. It's just a fundamental. So I'm going to keep playing this C here. Now what I mean by when I'm going to use the peaking filter is, the peaking filter is just giving us a slight bump when we reach the cutoff point. So wherever the cutoff is, when we sweep the filter around, that cutoff point where the slope happens on the filter, the peaking is just giving us a slight bump in that region. So let's just sweep it around. Now when we go into the peaking mode, just before, you can hear that slight boost in volume. Now that slight boost in volume is our peaking filter, just giving us a little bump right at the cutoff. So even if you don't have this peaking filter on your keyboard, you can use something similar to a resonance. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back into my low pass mode, so I don't get that peaking bit. But I'm going to just boost up the resonance, so that when the cutoff reaches that fundamental note in our sine wave, we get that same volume bump in there. So I'm just going to use the peaking mode for this one, just so that it frees up my resonance, so I can kind of control. I've got a bit more volume, control over my peaking level. Okay, so now we know what the peaking filter is doing. Let's just engage that. It would help if I clicked engage. So right there. I can use some resonance just to kind of make that a bit more apparent. Can we hear that right there? Yeah, that's where it kind of engages. When I release the note, it's almost got that kind of sucking sound to it. So I'm just putting some bit more release so that the filter doesn't just trap on me so suddenly. And then this envelope depth gives me overall control. So I kind of think of this envelope depth as like 100% wet and dry over whether or not this ADSR has the effect over my cutoff. So here it has no effect. We're at 0 and I have full control over here. But now if I engage some of my percentage here, my envelope depth, I'm able to control what it's doing. And what I'm aiming for is just a small bit of movement. Now this bit, I can really get a bit more movement in the filter, only slight. but I don't want just a pure sound where it just goes on and off. With the filter, I can kind of just get a little bit of movement, just so it creates something kind of interesting to the sound. So I want a small filter opening slightly. It's going to decay quickly down to my sustain. And there's my percentage of it. So on the Gaia, I've got this feature where I can copy the tone. So I'm just going to copy this one onto my next one. Now, I'm going to flick this over to a sine wave now. I'm going to turn down the level of my first one slightly. I've got a pure sine wave now. At this point, I'm going to engage some portamento now. I'm going to put it onto 2. So we're starting to sound like a bit more like an 808. And I've just pressed the low boost just to kind of give me some more low end. I want some more body now. So I'm going to select both of my oscillators here. So I want to add some artificial punch to both of my oscillators. So I'm going to engage it. Remember that our envelope depth is like almost like our percentage. This is like 100%, 0. We've got minus 100%. So I always push it to, it's too much. Get my decay right. Because what it's basically doing is saying it's no attack. It's literally straight in, and we're going from wherever we're pushing the percentage up to. How long does it take to decay down? I want a short decay, very, very short decay. And then we're gonna just work out our percentage. Just feed it in. What sounds cool? There sounds cool. So sometimes if you get a weird sort of noise right at the beginning or unwanted kind of pop sound, we can just back off the attack slightly on the envelope. We can kind of get rid of that. So I just took the attack off that filter. That no attack has definitely helped on our filter. It doesn't sound nice with a bit of attack on there. Using pedals, and you're going to really hear a massive difference when I engage these two pedals. So now we've got some real tonal elements we can start to mess with. And see how as soon as I shift my cutoff on my oscillator, the tone shifts. Ooh, there. What we also have is further controls over that. If we start to mess with the drive knob on our pedal, again we can hear that tonal shift. For this sound, I'm not after something real growly and aggressive. I'm after something quite subtle but still punchy. But for live, you definitely want to have these drive pedals just so it cuts through the mix. And the last thing I definitely want to introduce here is the octave on the pitch bend. Now, definitely something for drill 808s is that real octave shift and that glide right up to the higher octave. So what we're going to do here is change our pitch bend from 2 notes to a full octave. So let's do that now. going to flash. So we're going to hold up and hit a key. And we're going to hold down and hold a key. Press cancel. So now we've got a full octave on both pitch up and pitch down. So now we've got these, we know where our tonal kind of elements are coming from. The cutoff, our drive, even the drive on the octave. On the octave pedal I've got here, I've got some high octave going in. I'm just blending some of that in. And I've also got a bit of low octave. Just kind of really warming up my low end. So it's giving me some low subharmonic. But I want it to be very subtle. So I can bring down my drive a bit on here. And I like this Mojo Jojo. It's not the best pedal, but it's giving me some EQ on my tonal shapes as well, so I can kind of boost my low end. The one thing I don't really like about overdrive and sometimes distortion is that I lose a lot of low end, and we want to keep that for our 808s. So we're able to make some more subtle tonal shapes. Again, messing with the cutoff, messing with our resonance. I changed some of the variation on the sine wave slightly. But our key main ingredients for tonal shifting is our cutoff, our resonance, definitely some of our drive as well. But that's definitely made our sound, our 808 sound very. That, plus our portamento is giving us our drill 808 bass sound.
Smoke in your face. When you're so bored, shut up. Yo, it's not a thing, my brother. Like when you're so chatty, feeling so soft like bar. Can you relax, take time? When you're so angry when I get mine. Or when they chat shit, never recline. Now I'm in an active till I decline. No, don't rewind, no, never recap. Said I get involved, but I relapse. If I say that shit, then I mean that. Cause my life never weaker than kneecap.